Super Awesome Writer here. Welcome to my review for Avataro Sentai DonBrothers Episode 4. So this episode, we pick up where we left off after Oni's sister finally found out who Momotaro was, and she tried to pledge her loyalty to him, but then he started attacking her, and she immediately escapes through one of those AR portals, and her storyline basically takes her on a journey to figure out how to pledge her loyalty to him correctly and why he is the way that he is, basically. Why are you the way that you are? I hate so much about the things that you choose to be. That's honestly the mission statement for this episode. She goes to the prison guy for advice. He tells him a little bit about he tells him about her backstory. Do you need to know about your life? Let me tell you about it. He tells her about Momotaro's backstory and their past a little bit. We get two flashbacks with them, and it's kind of neat because the two stories kind of intersect. You have two different storylines going on, but there's a central core to it, which is all about Momotaro's past. And anyway, he tells her about like how when he was young, you know, he was very good at everything like he is now, and he also wants to be helpful, but he basically has no tact or filter, so he was getting on people's nerves, constantly correcting them and telling them they're doing things wrong, and he almost got ran out of town as a young kid. They almost ran this kid out of town, and he didn't understand, he was oblivious to it until everyone left town. But basically, he makes her understand him a little bit, and then not long after that, she runs into Saru brother when they both save these two kids, and they learn each other's identities, and they start working together to train to best Momotaro in combat, I guess, to gain his respect. That's probably the only thing I don't like that's going on right now. I found that to be kind of random, and I'm never a fan of that, oh, I have to gain your respect through fighting, or learn your feelings through fighting. Like, what is that nonsense? It's like when someone punches someone and they're like, I like you. I'm like, what are you talking about you like them? I would hate them. They just punched me. But the main story has Momotaro now working with Kiji brother at his office to get this onigiri place up and running, and they're sort of training the cook and the staff in how to be better, and it kind of involves the story. See, it ties in with Momotaro having no tact, and basically he's like bad at motivating people. He's trying to be helpful, but he just keeps telling them they're awful, and Kiji brother's trying to tell him you have to be more balanced and give them like positive reinforcement, and he's just not listening, and it kind of ties into that backstory. And then it also ties into the episode story of the week, where he sends the cook off to go sample a bunch of what I know as obviously donuts from the historical documents known as the Pokemon and Digimon anime of the 90s. But he's going around and sampling, trying to make the perfect food, which results in his greed manifesting as the O-Ranger monster. And he fully manifests when he goes out of control, where even after he's improved, it's not quite good enough for Momotaro because he doesn't know how to make it right because he's always been the person eating it and not cooking it for others or something. But he spins out, becomes the monster, leads to the fight of the week, and the human villains show up briefly and they talk about how they're supposed to dispel the ones without greed. Momotaro he doesn't defeat one, but he kind of, I don't know if he even bests him, he just kind of annoys them, so they leave so that they can destroy the monster of the week. Our change of the week is half Lupin Ranger, half Ryu Soldier, since they seemingly have to transform into the corresponding color. When they first pulled out the Lupin Ranger one, I'm like, oh, so 3 of them are going to do Lupin Ranger and 1 Ryu Soldier, because I heard the sound, but it was 2 Lupins and 2 Ryu Soldiers, so I guess they're kind of stuck to that. At the end of the fight, after their training of 45 minutes, Saru brother and Oni's sister try to attack Don Momotaro, but it doesn't work. And we end off the episode with the restaurants now bustling, thankfully, but Momotaro is kind of reflecting somberly. I'm getting a feeling like he's reflecting on, you know, the way he is, why he is the way that he is. Also in this episode, we do get a little bit more of Inoue brother, and he runs into these thugs that are after him for blackmail, and he puts the glasses on and discovers that they're enemies, and he fights them off, and then he gets chased by a cop again and escapes. It seems like we're going to be getting his focus next week, bringing him more into the fold, but we kind of get a teaser of that, like we have been, kind of piecing things together slowly. But I found it to be an altogether pretty solid episode. Like I said, I kind of liked that we basically had 2 storylines running on, which was Saru brother and Oni's sister kind of training, and then the main story of Kiji brother and Momotaro. And they were 2 different stories, but they both tied back to the same thing, which was backstory on Momotaro, which was nice. And I think it's kind of interesting that it is a little bit different, but it almost feels like a twist on the classic Toku protagonist, except people reacting more realistically to him. I mean, they are making a point of how, because he doesn't have tact, he's mean, but usually when you get these type of protagonists, they have some sort of quirk and everyone just worships them. Like, they come in and they, like, shriek a bunch of word salad at you and they're like, he's such an inspiration! And I like that this time he's being, like, a quirky red with whatever his thing is, but it's not making him well-liked. I just think that's kind of an interesting twist on the type of character that usually is eccentric and is, like, rewarded for it with no good reason. By that I just mean it doesn't ever make sense to me. Like, that's why I liked Kara Major, where I felt they explained to me why Jiru's unique way of thinking made him a good leader. But usually with the eccentric Toku leads, it's like I don't understand why they're following this person that might have a brain injury. I think it's interesting, and it's stopping him from being a totally obnoxious red, and I think it might send him down an interesting road as far as character development, both right now in the short term and in the long term. And yeah, overall solid episode. I would give this one a 3 out of 5. I like the continued slow build. This episode we had more interaction, I feel, with the cast than ever. Like, I'm enjoying the slow build, but I'm also looking forward to seeing how the show feels once we have all the characters maybe interacting in a more traditional sense and how the pacing changes. And again, there wasn't a huge amount of, like, big plot teases, but I kind of like how we have a little bit of an episodic structure with a serialized through line. But what did you guys think of this week's episode? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.